Sir, if you are elected, are you thinking of any piece of legislation that you want to introduce to help people in Mindanao or to improve the state of, to promote development in Mindanao? Anything related to Southern Philippines and the Muslims?
Yes, I will propose laws that will develop the power sector in Mindanao. Because the number one problem in Mindanao now is the energy, lack of energy sources. I've been to some places in Mindanao where they prepared fields, hundreds of hectares of fields for solar energy, but no one would want to invest in there. They probably it should be taken care of by the government. I mean, dapat yung gobyerno na mismo ang mag-invest doon using the Malampaya funds. And I mean, the government should not wait for private investors to come up with those projects, kinds of projects.
Are you thinking of any specific legislation to promote peace and security?
Well, in peace and security, probably
We're still in Mindanao.
give more developments in Mindanao, to give more economic developments in Mindanao so that the people there would feel that they are part of the efforts of the government. They always say that the reason why they rebel against the government is because they are not being taken care of. Well, let's give it to them. Let's give them some opportunity to engage in more livelihood and increase the income capacity of each family so that they cannot think of fighting the government.
Well, so far, sir, we've talked about the broad strokes as far as your agenda is concerned. Can we drill down a bit into your legislative agenda? You talked about improving or developing the power sector as well, livelihood. But as a senator, if you do get to the Senate, how do you intend to do this? What do you intend to propose as part of legislation? Well,
I will introduce amendments in the IPIRA law because as of now, the IPIRA law is quite... there is a constraint in developing energy sources. And I will encourage, or through that law, encourage the government to put up and directly manage and control the power sector in Mindanao. And not give it to the private sector.
You mean public infrastructure
Yes.
in the power sector?
Yes.
We're not looking anymore at private development
Yes.
of the power
Yes.
sector.
Yes. The reason why our electricity is very high, the cost of electricity is very high, is because it's being run by the private sector. Now, if we can just put up sources of energy which is government-owned and controlled and managed, then at least if we can give that 50% of the sources of energy if we can get it from the government, then we can lower down the cost of electricity.
However, sir, in theory, that sounds like a good idea if government is able to properly implement and manage the power sector. However, in the past, we've seen so much inefficiency on the part of government in managing the power sector, which is why I understand the power sector was devolved to the private sector in the 1990s. So have we changed
really
that
cannot,
much?
I don't see it that way, that they are being mismanaged by the government. During the time of Marcos, everything was managed well. But it was given to the private sector. For example, PNOC was the petrol was sold to, by FBR and Cory to private sector. There are some interests involved. So you cannot really say that the government has mismanaged it.
That's the energy sector. I mean, specifically the electricity sector, the power sector. Talk about it some more.
Well, the power sector, even if we own the national grid, is still contracted out to a private sector. Why? Can we not run it by ourselves? I mean, can the government run it by itself? Can it not be run by experts in the government? It's very simple.
Earlier, I was listening to you talk about Mindanao and your thoughts on it. We are nearing the stage, of course, for the plebiscite. But what I wanted to ask was your views on Marawi in particular. This obviously has set the stage and made things more complicated. What are your thoughts on how to help Marawi, how to rehabilitate Marawi, and what role does it play in the larger scheme of Mindanao?
Well, since it has become the center of the so-called rebellion in Mindanao in the latter history of the country, the government should put all the resources in Mindanao to rehabilitate Marawi because it has been devastated completely. So there should be complete and total efforts of the government to rebuild Marawi.
Sir, I'd like to steer back to your agenda for the Senate, if ever you do get to the Senate. You've talked briefly about changes in the power sector. I'd like to hear your other points that you want to bring to the Senate.
Yeah, about education, while we have given free tuition fees to state colleges and universities, I think the government should also provide them books, free books. And this is what I want to push.
So you want a law giving free textbooks to,
Yes.
in public schools?
Yes.
And anything else? Anything else you have in mind?
Well,
I suppose you have a long list of ideas that you want to push in the Senate.
yes, insofar as the housing is concerned, the government should have a comprehensive plan on housing. They should have a common design of yung mga prefab na para mas madali yung pag-put up. Unlike now that mangungontrata sila dito, mangungontrata doon, different contractor here, different contractor there, different contractor, and then they will question the standards of this, they question the standards of this. It's because there's no common standard. Why don't they just put up something, a prefabricated yung walls, yung post, yung and then yun ay patayo nila.
But you would want that, for example, to be established from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi.
Yes.
All over the country, uniform.
Yes.
But wouldn't that be, you're talking about, well, technically 7,000 islands. You're talking about a huge archipelago with different standards of living, different resources, and you're talking about
I'm talking
common
here of
structures all over the
housing
country.
for the
Yes, sir, I understand.
for the
So for example,
poor and
for example, housing in Tondo might be different from housing in Sitangkay, Tawi-Tawi.
yes, then there should be several designs of prefabricated buildings. Kesa yung paiba-iba ng contractor, paiba-iba din yung standards na ginagamit.
So only one contractor.
No, I mean, there should be one standard na ito na yung poste, ito ganito. No? And lahat yan prefab para uniform yung cost. So that when you put it up there, hindi mo na kailangan ng another bidding for this, another bidding for that. Kasi meron ng presyo talaga.